on page 180 to 196 of the Anish Tutorial Physics books. All the question and answers of this chapter has been given. You have to go through those question and answers and learn that thoroughly. Most of the questions in my test and even in the school test will be from that, because that covers most of the questions asked in concise and its answers are given. So please learn from that, besides looking at the video and writing these down and understanding these concepts. So now you have the next part of the chapter. Yesterday also we were seeing that electrons are flowing. In the previous frame also you saw that the electrons are flowing from a place where there is more electrons to a place where there is less electrons. So when an uncharged conductor and positively charged conductor was placed together and connected with the help of a wire, the electrons went from uncharged to positive, because compared to the positive metal, the uncharged metal has greater number of electrons. So now we will see what is meant by potential difference. Potential difference between two conductors is equal to the work done in transferring a unit positive charge from one conductor to the other. So it is work upon charge. So potential difference denoted by capital V is work done upon charge Q. It is V is W upon Q. SI unit of potential difference is volt. VOLT, capital V, and potential difference is a scalar quantity. So we can say 1 volt is 1 joule upon 1 coulomb. Of course, there are some basic sums based on this, and there are basic sums based on I is equal to Q by T and Ohm's law. Now potential difference, this definition has to be learned. It is the work done in transferring unit positive charge from one conductor to the other. Now you have the definition of 1 volt. From the formula itself you can define 1 volt. What is 1 volt? It is the potential difference. So you have to define it in terms of potential difference. You can't say 1 volt is the current. Then your entire definition is wrong, because volt is not unit of current. Volt is unit of potential difference. So in physics, when you write a definition, you change one word and your definition's meaning goes. So then you will not get a single mark. So you will say potential difference between 2 points is 1 volt if 1 joule of work is done to move 1 coulomb charge from one point to the other point. So that is how you can define it. You can define it in your own words, but you can't change the meaning. If you say 1 coulomb of current, go on. Coulomb is not the unit of current, it is the unit of charge. So you have to use the correct quantity, physical quantity, and the correct unit. So potential difference between 2 points is said to be 1 volt if 1 joule of work is done in transferring a charge of 1 coulomb from one point to the other. So yesterday we were seeing two metallic conductors connected together, and you had seen that the electrons flow from a place where there is excess electrons. That place where there is excess electrons is the negative terminal, or it is said to be excess electrons low potential. So negative terminal or low potential to high potential. That is a place where there is less number of electrons, positive potential. So electrons are flowing from low potential to high potential. But by internationally accepted convention means rule, we show the flow of current to be in the opposite direction to the flow of electrons. So we say that current will flow from higher or positive potential to lower, that is negative potential. So current flows from high potential to low potential. So that is how the current is flowing. So now we will continue with this and see Ohm's law and factors affecting the resistance. So here we just wrote that the electrons will flow from place where there is more number of electrons to a place where there is deficit of electrons. But the direction of flow of current will be reversed to that. That means current will flow from higher potential to lower potential. So this is what you had just wrote, flow of electrons and flow of current between two metallic conductors A and B, which are connected with the help of a metallic wire. So you have here electrons flowing from B to A, but current flowing from A to B. So now we will see what is meant by electrical resistance. Earlier you had seen what causes the flow of current, and you know that when there is a potential difference applied between the two ends of a metallic conductor AB, one end is at positive terminal, other end is at negative terminal, because you have connected a cell or a battery. So the electrons will flow from lower to higher potential, and because of the flow of electrons you have flow of electric current. Now the electrons are not alone in an atom. You know that they have the nucleus, which has the positively charged ions. So nucleus has got protons. So when the electrons are moving from negative to positive terminal, they will collide with the neighboring positive ions. Due to the collision, they stop or they pause for some time or they slow down. And then again they will accelerate. Why? Because this potential difference is there because of the presence of the battery. So when they again accelerate, they will again collide with neighboring ions, positive ions, and with other electrons. This obstruction to the flow of electrons due to the number of collisions that happen when the electrons flow from lower to higher potential is known as resistance of the conductor. So here we have written the definition of electrical resistance. When the electrons flow from negative to positive terminal of a metallic conductor, they will collide with the fixed positive ions and other free electrons, due to which their speed decreases and the direction of motion changes. This opposition offered to the flow of current by a conductor is called electrical resistance. So any conductor will have some resistance. Metals are good conductors, so they will have low resistance, whereas non-metals, they are poor conductors, so they will have less number of free electrons and they will have high resistance also. So one more thing you have to note is that after every collision, the electrons will again accelerate towards the positive terminal, and again there will be more collisions. So the process continues as long as there is the cell connected and there is a potential difference. So resistance generally denoted by capital R, and its unit is ohm because Ohm's law was given by a scientist called Ohm. So Ohm's law states that the current flowing through a conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference applied between the ends of the conductor, provided the temperature remains constant. So now, what does this mean? Let's say you have two cells connected and you have some current flowing. Let's say potential difference denoted by V and current denoted by I. So in that, two cells were there. Now let's say you increase the number of cells and you increase the potential difference. Then you will find that the current also increases. So this potential difference which you are applying can be read with the help of a voltmeter, and the current that is flowing can be held with the help of an ammeter. So when you see, as the voltmeter reading increases, the current reading also increases proportionately. So if the voltmeter reading doubles, then the current will also double. So that ratio V upon I will remain a constant, and that ratio is the resistance. So here in this equation we have written the mathematical form of Ohm's law. Well, the potential difference is directly proportional to current. Now here don't ask me V stands for velocity of angle. That's another chapter. So there are students who will ask what is V. Is it velocity? No. In current electricity, when you see capital V, it is potential difference. In laws of motion, when you see small v, that is final velocity. So this is two different things. The same alphabets can be used to convey different meanings of different units in different topics. So capital V is directly proportional to I. So V is equal to I into R. R is the resistance of the conductor, and that is the constant of proportionality by which the proportional sign became equal. So what is R? R will be V upon I. R is constant of proportionality, that is also the resistance of the conductor. This Ohm's law is very important. The statement will usually be asked in some test, and it is also there in 10th. Ohm's law states that the current flowing through a conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference applied across its ends, provided its temperature is constant. So that Ohm's law and the mathematical form, I told you, you can remember it easily. V is equal to I into R. Venugopal is equal to IR. So you can remember it that way. So copy this down. This is about the concept of resistance and Ohm's law. Now we will have to see the unit of resistance and the factors affecting resistance. So from Ohm's law, the equation you can write it as R is V upon I. SI unit of resistance is ohm. So R is resistance, 1 ohm is V is voltage, that is potential difference, 1 volt upon I stands for current, so it is 1 ampere. 1 ohm is 1 volt upon 1 ampere. So the symbols ohm, this is omega, this is a Greek letter again. The symbol for ohm is this, like the shape of a horseshoe magnet. 1 volt upon 1 ampere. So we can be asked to define 1 ohm. So this is an important definition, 1 ohm. The resistance of a conductor is said to be 1 ohm if a current of 1 ampere flows through it when a potential difference across its ends is 1 volt. So if you take a conductor and apply a potential difference of 1 volt between the two ends of the conductor like this, so if a potential difference of 1 volt is applied like this, and if the ammeter reading is 1 ampere, then we can say that this conductor's resistance is 1 ohm. So that is the meaning of the statement. So this is how you have to define 1 ohm, which is the unit of resistance. Now we see the last part of the chapter, that is factors affecting resistance in a conductor. There are 4 factors. First is material, second is length, third is area of cross section or thickness of the wire, and the fourth factor, which I have not written due to lack of space, is temperature, that I will write in the next frame. So here first is material. So material, it is very simple to understand that metals have very low resistance. They are good conductors, whereas non-metals like wood, paper, etc. are poor conductors, so they have high value of resistance. So in metals also, silver is one of the best conductor, but it is expensive. That is why we use other metals like copper and aluminium for making metallic wires, because silver is expensive. Copper's resistance is slightly more than silver, but it is okay, we can use it. That is why we use metal. All the wires are made of copper. Sometimes in some appliances aluminium is used because it is even cheaper than copper. Then you have length of the wire, which is denoted by small l. The number of collisions suffered by electrons will be more if they have to travel a greater length of wire. So it's like, you can imagine it like a car. If a car has to move from this end to the other end of the road, if the road is very long, let's say you have to travel 10 kilometers, then it will take you much more time to finish that distance and reach from A to B. But if the length of the road itself is small, instead of 10 kilometers it is only 1 kilometer, then you will easily able to cover that distance in lesser period of time. So same with the electrons. Electrons in this case is like the car. So more the length, more the number of collisions that the electrons will suffer, and more will be the resistance. So the resistance is directly proportional to the length of the metallic conductor. Second factor is the thickness of the wire. You have seen thick wires and thin wires. Generally in your house, appliances like the bulb, tube light, fan, etc. will have thin wires because they don't require so much current. So thin wires have got high resistance, whereas thick wires are used for your geyser, AC, all those appliances will have thick wires. Because thick wires, remember, they don't have high resistance, they have low resistance. With the increase in thickness, what happens? The electrons have that much more space to move. So the number of collisions will be less. So thick wires offer less resistance, or resistance is inversely proportional to area. Low resistance means more current can flow through it without heating it up. When current flows through wires, the wires get heated. So if it is a thick wire, it will have low resistance, so more current can flow without heating it up. Therefore, such thick wires are used for appliances like your air conditioners. Here AC stands for air conditioner. And for geyser, in your bathroom also you will see the connecting wire of the plug to the geyser is very thick. And the internal wiring, which is concealed for the geyser, also is thick. Much thicker as compared to the wire which you supply for your tube light or for your fan. So, three factors we saw. The fourth factor also we will see now. So, you have resistance is inversely proportional to thickness or area. But what is area of a wire? A wire, if you look at the cut section, it will look like this. It is a circle. So, wire's radius will be r, small r, and area of the cross section is pi r squared. So if you write area is pi r squared, so resistance is inversely proportional to the radius, the whole squared. So now in school sometimes they ask a tricky question. They will ask you, if the radius of the wire is doubled, what happens to the resistance? So radius is doubled is different from area is doubled. Radius is doubled means the resistance is inversely proportional to radius the whole squared, so it will become 1/4 its original value. Radius is doubled. When you increase the area, the resistance will of course decrease. But here radius squared it is, so 2r the whole squared will become 4r squared, so it will become 1/4 the original resistance. Whereas if the same question is asked as, if the area is doubled, here it was radius is doubled, here it is area is doubled. So then area is doubled means it already incorporates area. You don't have to bother about the radius separately. So in this case, if area is doubled, then the resistance will only become half its original value. So note what they ask, is it radius is doubled or is it area is doubled? If area is doubled, the resistance will become half its original value. And if the radius is doubled, then the resistance will become 1/4 its original value, because resistance is inversely proportional to square of radius. Then the fourth factor is temperature of the wire. So when you ask factors, you don't have to explain all this area doubled and all. You just have to write first factor is material. Good conductors have low resistance, bad conductors and insulators high resistance. Second is resistance is directly proportional to the length. Greater the length of the wire, more is the resistance. Third factor, resistance is inversely proportional to thickness or area of cross section of wire. So if you have a thicker wire, it will have lesser resistance. And fourth factor, temperature of the wire. With increase in temperature, the electrons or the ions in the wire that gain energy, that will gain heat energy, so they will vibrate more vigorously, and due to the vibrations there will be more collisions, and more collisions means greater resistance. So resistance increases with increase in temperature. So they may not ask you directly what are the factors, but instead they may ask you, a bulb is on. So will its filament resistance be greater, lesser or equal to when the bulb is off? And give reason. So obviously when the bulb is on and current is flowing through the filament of the wire, its resistance becomes more because the temperature of the wire is more. When the bulb is switched on, off, it cools down and therefore the filament resistance will also decrease. So these are questions asked on this factor, that is temperature. So 4 factors affecting resistance is very important, and this question and even this question, radius doubled, resistance will become 1/4. Area doubled, resistance will become 1/2. These questions are very important. Our last part in this second part of the chapter is closed and open circuits. You know that only if the circuit is closed, the entire circuit should be made of metallic conductors and electrons should be able to flow freely from one end to the other end. Only then current will flow. That is, only if the circuit is closed and every part of the circuit is made up of metallic conductors. If the circuit is open, then there will be no flow of current. So that is why when we had seen the symbol of switch open, when that dot was not there inside that bracket, that was open circuit, then current will not flow. So the path along which the current flows is called a circuit. Current flows only if the circuit is complete or closed. If circuit is open or incomplete, then current will not flow. For current to flow, each part of the circuit must be conducting and no part should be broken. So with this we finish part B. Now part C, I will just ask you what to refer and which page to refer, because it is general. It is a very generic topic in which you are only discussing what are energy conservation methods. So in energy conservation methods or efficient use of energy, we can always write some very common sense points, like instead of using tube light and bulb, which is outdated, you use LED bulbs. LED is light emitting diodes. So by using that, you reduce the consumption of energy. And even if you're rich, that doesn't mean that you consume more energy, because all the electricity that you use go in global warming. I told you when current flows through the wires get heated and the environment becomes hot. So when you have the transmission wires conducting electricity from various places of the country, there is global warming. So instead of using energy less efficient devices, use good energy efficient devices, like you can use the LED. Then you have AC, all those appliances come with star rating. Use those which have got higher star ratings because they consume less energy. Then you have other uses. A building's location and its surrounding play a key role in regulating lighting and in temperature and illumination. Proper placement of windows will reduce the requirement for use of light throughout the day. So if your windows are properly placed, then in that case the lighting required throughout the day will not be much. Then fuel efficient vehicles, another point. Fuel efficient vehicles can be used, and that will reduce the consumption of petrol and other requirements. So those are initiatives that should be taken to reduce the power consumption for efficient use of energy. Now that is very clearly, some question and answers are given in our book. So you please refer to that. I will just write the page numbers. So there are question and answers, and that is common sense questions which need no explanation. But some of that can be asked in your exam, like state 2 ways by which you can conserve or you have better use of energy. In that you can write down about LED bulbs, about building location being properly located with windows properly placed. Then you can use another thing, that is power efficient combustion engines in vehicles will reduce the consumption of energy, and the vehicles themselves can be made lighter so that it consumes less energy. So that you can read from Anish tutorial book. I'll write the page number. So with that we finish current electricity. So sums remain which we will directly do in the Zoom sessions. So for efficient use of energy part C, maybe a 2-mark question can be asked. You refer pages 195 and 196 of Anish tutorial physics book. With that we complete this topic of current electricity.